Hey there, I'm Murder51. Recently I made a video on my thoughts on the new Modern Warfare 3, and that video did infinitely better than I could have ever expected. From the bottom of my heart, thank you everyone who watched it and left feedback. However, a couple of comments stood out. Some kind folks asked my opinion on Call of Duty Infinite Warfare's campaign, and I haven't played it since 2017, but I remember thinking it was pretty good, and I wanted to go back and give it another look, to see why I thought it was a solid game. Infinite Warfare, at a surface glance, is everything wrong with Call of Duty in the mid-2010s. You got special jetpacks, and operators, and zombies in my Infinity Ward game. I mean, can we not bring back survival? But if you dig deeper and actually play the campaign, unlike the vast majority of people who play Call of Duty, you'll be shocked at the care and effort that was put into craft an excellent set of characters, all with their own development and arcs to help you connect with them. Most of these characters aren't cardboard cutouts. This video is mostly going to discuss the writing of the characters and narrative plot of the game. My intention is not to summarize the plot, but it will likely feel that way. Actually, I'd just like to tell you right here and now, this campaign is well worth your time. Please play it if you haven't and come back as I'll be spoiling some of the biggest parts of the game. Finally, before we begin, if you haven't seen my content before, I try to keep my videos as kid-friendly as possible, but due to the subject matter of this video, a few swear words may be heard from gameplay examples. First up, let's talk about the prologue. The first mission shows you the enemies you'll be facing, the Settlement Defense Front, led by Admiral Koch. Or you may know him better as Jon Snow from the hit series Game of Thrones. I'll try not to make too many jokes or references at its expense, but plenty of us are still annoyed by Season 8. Koch and his crew have a weird set of morals they work with. As stated in the opening cutscene, they want to destroy everything Earthborn. 3 soldiers of the UNSA have gone on a secret mission to stop the SDF from taking an experimental weapon of mass destruction from its facility. The SDF clearly show how powerful they are during this mission, showing not only a massive force of military power with their soldiers, but also robots and mechs armed with miniguns and missiles. At the end of the first mission, the 3 soldiers are defeated and losing oxygen. Koch tells his soldiers to get you up and give you air. He asks how many they came with and about the airship that brought them. The soldier tells Koch that his men need medical, and Koch explains that carrying clouds judgment, and that's why they cannot win, as he shoots and kills one of his own men before ordering the soldiers to kill them. The setup here is fine, nothing too out of place, but the biggest issue I have is Koch seems slightly mustache twirly. He doesn't seem like the kind of person who could lead, but much stranger leaders have existed in the real world, so I'm willing to give it a pass. Something gameplay-wise I'd like to commend here is that for the first time in Call of Duty campaign history, they made a boss fight I really enjoyed with the mech. Pretty much every time you fight one of these in the campaign, I enjoyed it. I wish they could make better fights like these in other games. Now let me skip forward a little bit. I want to jump around a little with the first third of the game. You're immediately introduced to Admiral Raines and Lieutenant Nick Reyes, your main character for this game. Nick is shown as a caring but headstrong person. One of the lines that he echoes back to the Admiral is,
"Hesitation is a hole in the head. You drilled that into us relentlessly in flight school. Work the problem. Respond."
You were always a fast learner, Lieutenant.
Reyes wants to go after the SDF for what they did, but Raines reminds him that unless war is declared, they cannot attack. They are informed that E3N has arrived, which prompts Reyes to ask what that is, and the Admiral tells him to go see for himself. On the way, you'll meet Lieutenant Nora Salter, one of Reyes' close friends and flight partners. She's also shown as headstrong, and maybe even a little reckless in her approach, and wants to be in the air, not at some parade. While you're going to meet E3N, you'll see a memorial wall, inscribed with the names of those who have fallen in battle.
Not a list you want to make.
Peace to the fallen.
On the rooftop, amidst all the air shows, you meet E3N, an enhanced tactical humanoid, 3rd Revision, also known as Ethan. I don't know what it is, but I have a soft spot for robot characters in media. I always go easy on them and probably think of them better than most deserve, but as we'll see, there's more than meets the eye with this guy. Ethan is a wealth of sarcasm and dry humor, adding just a little bit of levity to the battles you'll soon be entrenched in. These jokes are all well written and fairly placed, never really pulling me out of the moment.
You know I get stage fright, right, sir?
You got feelings, Ethan?
I do, Lieutenant. I do. I carry the brain of a human farmer.
Holy shit, are you serious?
No, ma'am. Not at all.
You got you, Lieutenant.
Did not.
While flying to the ceremony, Ethan notices that the anti-aircraft guns are tracking their own ships, before firing at them, causing them to crash. The SDF has invaded Earth, and are attempting to destroy the UNSA. During this mission, you get an idea of each of these characters and the relationship between Reyes and Salter. The two are kind of like siblings, very close, but each bicker about how to approach the issues. And Ethan cares for humanity as a whole, knowing his purpose as a tool to protect them at all costs, and is shocked that the enemy would target civilians first. Jumping forward a bit, after protecting the main UNSA warship, the Retribution, from Koch's fleet, you arrive on the Retribution as the crew ask Reyes to come to the deck. They've taken casualties and need assistance. The captain of the ship, Alder, made some poor decisions that cost the lives of his men, and Salter is angry about the way it was handled. Nick is more upset that he lost so many soldiers. When they arrive at the bridge, they meet Staff Sergeant Yusuf Omar, who believes that the captain did his job.
All due respect, Lieutenant. The captain did his duty. He drove the enemy into retreat.
Captain's duty is to get his men home alive, Staff Sergeant.
Not always, Lieutenant. Not always.
The three find out that Captain Alder was among the fallen, and Gator, one of the soldiers who pilot the Retribution, informs Reyes that as the highest-ranking officer on board, he is now the captain. Gator, Omar, and Salter all fall in line with his orders, ready to follow him as needed. But shortly after, some tension arises. You learn that Omar and his Marines hate robots like Ethan. He's seen exactly what they can do on the battlefield, and he harbors an immense distrust of Ethan, constantly referring to him as drone and bot, and keeps making snide remarks every time Ethan tries to help. Ethan doesn't take too kindly to this, and he goes out of his way to protect Omar to show him that bots like him aren't all bad. Over a few missions, this pays off very well in Ethan's favor. Omar realizes that Ethan is trying his best to help, and that he's different than just some mindless murder tool. Omar even asks for Ethan on certain missions, saying he thinks he'll be a great help. On a mission to Saturn's moon Titan, Omar calls all of his men's attention, saying he personally vouches for Ethan, he's proven his worth, and even asks him what the Navy's official policy is for a gunfight.
Ethan! What's the Navy's official policy for a gunfight?
Send in the Marines!
As for you, Captain!
On this mission, Ethan even feels comfortable enough around the Marines to make a joke.
Be advised, there have been incidents with the automation on these C-12. Kind of incident. Now, there's intel they turn on their squad mates unpredictably in battle.
Shit, is that true?
No.
Button it up, Ethan.
Yes, sir.
But when Koch and his warship, the Olympus Mons, show up unexpectedly, the mission takes a sharp turn. Gator brings the Retribution into the atmosphere to distract Koch and his men from killing Reyes and crew, allowing them time to finish the mission. On the way back into orbit to return to the Retribution, Reyes, Ethan, and Salter are attacked by the Olympus Mons, and Reyes and Ethan's thrusters are damaged. The Olympus ends up shooting through the windshield of the jet, and they lose control. Ethan tells Reyes they have to eject before they crash into the ship, but Reyes believes he can make it. Ethan ejects and grabs Reyes moments before the jet crashes into the hull of the Retribution, damaging it heavily, along with the fire from the Olympus Mons. Gator reports massive damages while Reyes and Ethan float above the ship in space. Reyes tells them to warp away, while Salter says they won't leave them behind. Reyes orders Gator to warp, knowing that if they rescue him, they'll all die. The Retribution leaves, as Reyes and Ethan continue to float in space.
Drop out! That's an order!
Roger, sir! We're coming back, Reyes! We will fight! Oxygen depleted.
Captain, your suit.
Took a hit in the cockpit. Left arm's torn.
Unsettling report, sir.
Oxygen depleted.
Captain, I can't stop it. What do I do?
Let it go, Ethan.
I can't, sir. You're my commanding officer, Captain. My mission is you.
Who says?
Oh, I'm hardware, sir. Ultimately expendable.
No. You're my brother, Ethan.
You're talking robot, brother.
Affirmative.
Yes. Well, I am the handsome one, sir.
No doubt.
Oxygen level critical.
Looks like this is the end of the line, partner.
I think I'm scared, sir.
Me too.
Captain, stay with me. Sir. Captain. Captain. Captain.
Captain, can you hear me? Captain Reyes. He's coming to. There you go, sailor. Open your eyes. This is Tigress Captain Farron.
Heart rate stabilizing. Blood gases and range.
It's Chief Bryant Ling. He's a Tigris Corpsman.
Where's Ethan?
Right here, sir.
You're on a shuttle from my vessel Tigris. I'm taking you back to Retribution.
My ship, my crew.
Retribution's in good hands. Sit him up. She's right out there, in all her guts and glory.
Who contacted you?
Lieutenant Salter. She asked the Admiral for a retrieval team. Under the circumstances, he deemed the recovery too risky.
Rains didn't authorize the rescue.
War has no friends, Reyes. Perhaps my motivations were selfish, but I have no intention of fighting out here alone. I tossed a pilot and 2 spotters, and we set out to your last known location.
How did you account for radial velocity?
Gravitational drag and something we've been lacking. Luck. We had to pry Ethan's arms open. They'd frozen around you. Protecting his captain to the end. Dauntless valor, Ethan.
Boundless terror, Captain.
You are a humble one.
5 seconds to dock.
Thanks, Farron. You saved our lives.
We are a fraternity of 2, you and I. 50% attrition rate is not gonna fly. Welcome home, Captain.
Above and beyond the call, Farron.
A calculated risk, Lieutenant. I'll be returning to Tigris now. Let's get back to work.
Be careful with him.
Captain, please. I can look after myself.
Ethan, go to engineering, see Mac, get a clean bill.
What about you, sir?
Don't you worry about me.
Try and stop me, sir.
Salt, I heard what you...
You ready?
Always.
I'm sorry to just outright play the scene, but whoa. This was the point that I realized the story was going to be different. During my replay, I was completely taken off guard by this scene, and I don't know how I forgot about it. If you weren't connected to Ethan by now, he's probably the best character up to this point. Everything from this scene is what I would consider perfect, and this is something sorely lacking from pretty much every other Call of Duty. The line about Ethan's arms being frozen around Reyes to protect his captain until the bitter end is masterful writing. For the next mission, Ethan is going to stay on the Retribution. He needs to get checked out and recertified for combat. So Reyes, Salter, Omar, and his Marines Kashima, Brooks, and Lee head out to a mining facility on an asteroid near the sun. This is one of the best missions in the game, hands down, with some of the most unique gameplay challenges and settings I've ever seen in the Call of Duty series. The asteroid is spinning rapidly, and anyone caught on the surface will be incinerated from the heat, and most of the colony has been killed. But the whole mission ties into a central theme the game has been building, that if we only save one life, it's worth it. Never leave a man behind. While in the facility, Reyes makes a comment calling back to that last mission.
I don't think these 2 were getting along so well.
Maybe Ethan was right.
Are those things turning? Are their own security bots turned on them? They can't do that, right?
Keep it tight.
Suddenly, the worker bots go rogue and start attacking the squad. They've killed a bunch of civilians, and they constantly lose and regain power throughout the mission based on the position of the asteroid in relation to the sun. It adds a slight horror vibe to the mission and kept me interested in finding any survivors. Salter believes that everyone is dead and they have to leave before they're next, but they find a small group of survivors. Reyes sends Salter to get the ship while him, Omar, Kashima, Brooks, and Lee wrangle the survivors to get them to the extraction point, destroying as many rogue bots as possible. While running to the ship, an explosion happens behind them, and Lee is shot. He tells them to leave him behind, and Salter tells them they have to leave now. But Omar tells them he's going for Lee, and as soon as he grabs him, another explosion happens, leaving a firewall around the cargo door. Salter tells them to move it, but Omar tells them to get out of there. They're not gonna make it out.
Sergeant! Stop this thing! Turn it around! Step back! He's still down there, Salt! Turn the ship around! He's gone, sir. We left him, Corporal. There's nothing you could do, Captain. I gave you a direct order!
I'm the pilot of this ship. It's my job to make sure that we get back.
We lift off on my order!
We shouldn't have been down there in the first place.
That's not your call.
Mission comes first. Omar's words, not mine.
I bring my men home, Salt. We do both. Captain, he goes willingly. He didn't have to, Corporal.
2 seconds, Saul. All I needed was 2 more seconds.
I needed those 2 seconds to get us off the X.
What if it were me?
What are you asking me?
Would you have left me out there?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
Hesitation is a hole in the head, Reyes. We both know that. There was no other way.
There's always another way.
Not always.
Since when?
Since you became captain.
Major Raven.
Send traffic, Gator.
We received an emergency off-rep, Captain. What's your ETA?
We're coming in now.
You're needed on the bridge ASAP, sir.
Roger, we've got civilians on board.
Acknowledged. We'll prep for offload. Out.
This day's not ending anytime soon. Let's keep the barrel side out. Fight the enemy, not each other. You got the green light to do whatever it takes.
Sorry about Omar, Reyes.
Me too, Sol.
Again, I'm sorry to play the scene, but seriously, this is great stuff. The loss of Omar and Lee is heavy on the whole crew and causes the tension to build between the two closest characters we've seen, and we'll never know what would happen if they only had 2 more seconds. As stated earlier, a captain's job is to bring his men home, and Salter pulling out makes Reyes feel like a failure. The trade of civilian lives for 2 of their own is admirable, but it leaves the question of, was it worth it? And I leave that for you to decide. Before moving on though, I have one final thing to say in this mission. I believe this could have been enhanced by the inclusion of Ethan. We'll soon see how this loss affected him, but we could have seen it firsthand, and I believe it could have been better. But the lack of him here is something that has been in the back of my mind since playing it. After arriving, Ethan walks them back to the bridge.
Something go wrong with the recon, sir?
We saved lives out there, Ethan. But there were some problems.
What kind of problems, ma'am?
Staff Sergeant Omar didn't make it, Ethan.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir.
I wish there was more from this, but I don't feel that this loss affects Ethan much more than maybe one scene a good bit later in the game. But let's step away from the protagonists for a second and talk about the antagonists again. Koch used the Olympus Mons to knock the mining facility off course into the orbit of the sun. Then the SDF hacked the worker bots to kill the people inside. They did this to separate the 2 UNSA warships because Koch knows they care about the innocent. After the Retribution goes to save the civilians, Koch shows up to the other fleet and eradicates everyone there, including Commander Farron, the woman that saved Reyes and Ethan over Titan. This is probably the biggest loss for the world of Infinite Warfare. Now the Retribution is the only thing left to defeat the SDF, as the rest of the men are still preoccupied with the war still happening on Earth. This event taking place at the exact same time as the death of Omar is like a 1-2 punch. I thought we were in our typical second act low point, but I don't think this game is structured as typically as you would expect. I'm just going to skip forward a little bit. I feel like the Raya stuff isn't done as well as it could have been, and I feel like the mission chasing him was the worst part of the game, but that's not a narrative fault specifically. But to sum it up, the Iron Shield protecting the Earth is taken offline, leading to the full-scale invasion of the Earth by the SDF and the death of Admiral Rains. Reyes believes that if he can get onto the Olympus, he can take it down and kill Koch. This is one of those missions that is very well set up with what feels like multiple kicks to the gut. You can finally stand up and get a good punch in yourself. And while it does feel a little bit contrived of how Reyes gets onto the ship, the execution of taking it over is very well done. Reyes, Ethan, and Salter blasting their way through everyone to get to the deck was fun and kept me engaged all the way through, especially when sprinkling in a mech takedown. You can listen to Koch tell you how he's already won and that death is no disgrace, or you can, Salen Koch is not the greatest villain in the Call of Duty series. I still believe that honor goes to Kevin Spacey for his crimes against human— Oh, sorry, wait, that's real life.
Give me a break.
I actually believe that honor goes to Vladimir Makarov in the original Modern Warfare trilogy, maybe tied with General Shepard, both great antagonists from a time before the quality dipped. It's worth mentioning that for the very little screen time he has, Kit Harington gives a performance that suits the role. Koch isn't someone to fear, he's just someone who is dead set on exacting his plans. He has a very strong military focus, and that is his driving force. uncaring, and brutal, but efficient in his methods. In that regard, I believe he's perfectly serviceable for the story here. Oh, wait, the story isn't over? There's more to do? Well, let's jump right back in then.
We're going to Mars. Ethan set a drop course for SetDef's orbital shipyard.
Yes, you heard him right. The game has just flipped everything on its head. The experimental weapon I mentioned earlier, we now have control of it, and it's probably the most powerful object in the entire Call of Duty franchise. A space laser that can destroy an entire ship in a single blast, and you have to use it to protect yourself and your allies in the retribution above Mars. Eventually, the cannon is destroyed by the massive amount of ships protecting the SDF shipyard. Reyes and Salter jump into ships to protect Ethan as he attempts to pilot the Olympus into the shipyard, but the retribution is damaged and is unable to move, trapped in Ethan's flight path. He tried to pull up, but collides with the retribution, destroying both ships and leaving the shipyard unharmed. Reyes and Salter are shot down as well, and everyone crashes into the surface of Mars. Reyes survives the crash and hears a distress call from Brooks as he watches the retribution crash before seeing Ethan crash in the Olympus. The skies are full of debris from the battle, with ships and scrap falling from above. Reyes arrives at a crash site with a group of Marines and finds Brooks trying to lift a broken door off of Kashima. I haven't mentioned them very much in this, but Kashima and Brooks are characterized very well over the course of the game. Kashima is bleeding profusely from a wound in his chest, and Brooks leaves to go find a medkit and asks Reyes to hold the wound. This is another gameplay praise I have to give, and it's super simple, but it goes a long way in immersing you in the moment. You have to hold the triggers to keep pressure on the wound, and you can feel Kashima's heartbeat through them, and throughout the dialogue you can feel his heartbeat getting weaker. Regardless of how you feel of Kashima, you're feeling him die in front of you, connecting you, the player, to this moment.
I'll probably get a Purple Heart for this, huh? I don't impress the Lieutenant.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she'll love it.
I can still fight.
I know you can, Marine. We're gonna get you back out there in no time.
Brooks, where's that medkit? Let's go!
Is that Marine, sir?
Reyes, Brooks, and the remaining Marines make their way to the Retribution crash site, finding Salter, Gator, McCallum, and Griff. I haven't mentioned McCallum and Griff, but they've been around for the whole game. They're also great characters, but they've had less to do with the plot. Ethan arrives in a small ship filled with a group of robots he could salvage.
I mean, they're idiots, but they can fight.
Reyes decides that they must storm the gates of the shipyard elevator and destroy it from the inside. Make no mistake, this is the last stand of the UNSA. There's no turning back, for the sacrifices already made cannot be in vain. Everyone is needed on this mission, and very few will make it out. Before I talk about this last mission, I want to give a minor complaint and a minor compliment to the last bit of the game. Let's start with the bad. I have an issue with contrivances in media. A few are fine, as long as it's in service of the story and there aren't multiple one-in-a-million events happening at every turn. I can suspend my belief enough as long as it's not egregious. But this is one time where I have an issue with it. How likely is it that every living main character survived the crashes except for Kashima and Gibson? I think a few more characters could have died in the crashes, like for instance, in the next mission, Gator is killed in an extremely telegraphed way. He tells Reyes that he's so happy to be fighting alongside you, and he is instantly gunned down after opening a door. It's probably the only time in the whole game that I didn't really care about the death, mainly because of how painfully obvious it was that he was about to die. But if he dies in the crash, maybe in such a way that he died because of how they landed, but it would save others in the impact, it would be way more memorable. That's just me though. Okay, compliment time. The way this is set up to get more development time for Griff and McCallum is great. I wasn't expecting to care more about these characters or get more from them, and most certainly not at this point in the game, but it's a very welcome addition. Skipping forward through the mission, the squad makes it to the elevator, and Griff and Brooks are going to stay and protect the elevator, but Griff tells Brooks to go on with him. He'll hold out for as long as he can with the Marines. And as you lock in, you watch the SDF drop pod slam into the bridge in front of Griff, hearing him scream as he charges into battle for his final time. At this point, we are down to 5 main characters remaining. Reyes has watched almost everyone he has fought with fall in battle, and it has changed him forever. Reyes, Salter, and McCallum climb a launching rail for the drop pods and find a way to stop them from launching. Reyes tries to put an explosive inside, but one of the bots grab him. McCallum tries to cut its hand off, but it grabs her and pulls her inside with the explosive. She begs Reyes to let her go before the charges detonate, and he reluctantly does, letting her go and blowing up the rail for the pods, almost taking Reyes and Salter in the process. I think this death is also kind of contrived as well, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. It just seems a little bit forced, especially at this point in the game. Before moving on, I want to say that McCallum is performed excellently by Claudia Black, who also plays Sam Byrne in the Gears of War series, as well as Chloe Fraser in the Uncharted series. Meeting up with Brooks and Ethan and the rest of the crew, Ethan discovers a destroyer-class ship with a full payload. It's capable of warping out, but it could also level the place if the weapon system could be activated. Reyes decides that has to be the plan, and Salter tells him that if he goes, they can't wait for him. Reyes tells her that she can't wait for him, and Ethan jumps in immediately saying, "Captain, how will you get home?" Reyes explains that they aren't getting out of here. He tells Salter to hit the shipyard and do as much damage as she can before she's taken out, and she believes that she can do that and still warp. They make a plan, and she asks Ethan to come with her, but he explains that he needs to help Reyes make it to the control room. After the send-off, Ethan taps into the controls to lead everyone away.
This is suicide, Reyes.
I gave my order, Salt.
Captain doesn't always bring his men home.
Not always.
Ethan continues guiding Reyes to the control room.
So we're getting stitched up over here. No time to waste.
Copy. Moving as fast as I can. Hold them off. Ethan! Thanks, partner.
In spite of the situation, I'm enjoying myself, sir.
Me too.
Ethan discovers that the SDF has disabled the switches on the locks for the destroyer. The only way to do it is manually, but he needs Reyes' help. He tells Reyes to hack him. As Reyes controls Ethan, you discover that the core is electromagnetic and may disable his processor. But that isn't the only reason. After destabilizing the reactor, Ethan asks Reyes to initiate his self-destruct sequence, much to his dismay.
It looks like it's overloading. Let's get out of here.
No, sir. Core is still holding. They don't need a charge to set it off. My self-destruct, sir. The detonation will ignite the core. It'll set off a chain reaction and blow the mooring.
There's gotta be another way.
I'm afraid not, sir. I understand the conflict, Captain. I'm ready, I promise. Good luck, Reyes. It's been an honor, sir.
Honor was all mine, Metal One.
Reyes, we're mobile. Enable firing control.
Firing control is set. You have the con.
Copy firing control.
Target is marked. Fire on my position.
Reyes, get the hell out of there!
Fire on my position, Salter!
I can't do that, Nick!
Nora, finish the mission! That's an order!
Set weapons free! All stations! Warship is green to engage! Guns! Swivel mount fire one! Open fire! Open fire! On countermeasure! Hold target! Concentrate fire! Concentrate fire!
Reyes grabs onto the hull of the ship, but is knocked off by an SDF ship ramming them. He floats alone in space, but at least there is a possibility of his survival, just like last time.
All stations! R12, transmitting in the blind. Shipyard destroyed. Reyes, do you copy? Peter? Nick! Nick, do you?
In the end, only 4 soldiers remain. The game ends with Salter paying her respects to the fallen at the memorial wall from the start of the game, and as she steps away, you see the names of all those lost along the way.
The officer's commitment exhibited the highest traditions of naval service.
Peace to the fallen.
During the credits of the game, you can listen to the letters from each of the characters who died that would be sent back to their families. The only one who doesn't get a letter is Reyes. These continued to give more character to these characters, adding more to their stories than I could have ever asked for. This kind of stuff is really appreciated, even if very few people will ever listen to them. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare is a game about reverence to those who give their lives in war. The game goes out of its way to show the realism of war in a setting that is about as unrealistic as we'll ever get. You get to see true brotherhood built between this cast of characters, but you also see the relationships tested and fragmented over the course of the story too. These characters are constantly tested and tried, but they rarely falter in their missions. Nick Reyes, as told to us in more ways than one throughout the story, is not a good captain, but one who was thrust into this position. In a scene I didn't talk about, McCallum explains that the people knew the risks, and that they should have rammed through the retribution to finish the mission. Something I really appreciate about this scene is that neither character is portrayed as correct. They allow you to make your own decisions about it. The writers of this game don't treat you as incompetent. They believe that you can read between the lines in a lot of ways, and it shows a level of skill in writing that we don't see very often. They offer questions for you, but they don't give you all the answers. They want you to think about these things past what you've played. Omar and Ethan's relationship is built up over time, and it's believable, unlike so many other stories that try this. It's not perfect, but an honest attempt is made, and it's a great try. Ethan as a character is pretty much flawless for me, and I can't think of a single moment that he's inconsistent. However, I do want to address the elephant in the room for a moment. Or should I say, the giant mechanical robot in the room.
We had to pry Ethan's arms open. They'd frozen around you, protecting his captain to the end. Dauntless valor, Ethan.
Protocol 3. Protect the pilot.
It's actually insane this game came out within a week of Titanfall 2, and that the story beats that involve robot characters are so similar. Titanfall 2 might do it better, but between Cooper and BT and Reyes and Ethan, I'd actually need to think about which I like more. They both have such excellent setup and payoff for these characters. By the way, if you haven't played Titanfall 2, please do. That campaign is very good. If I had to compare these two, I'd say that Titanfall 2 is all killer, no filler, and this game is very close behind in terms of campaign quality. There is very little filler content in Infinite Warfare. The one outlier I have is Salter, and I don't know what it is that I'm missing with her. She feels slightly out of place for a bit of the game for me. If I had to guess, she's almost never meant to be right, but just supposed to add an opposing viewpoint to Reyes to add a little bit extra conflict. But I feel like these two characters shouldn't bicker as much as they do. I don't really have anything against her specifically, but I just don't know why I can't place her specific role in the story. If anyone has a better viewpoint on her character, feel free to let me know. I'd love to hear it. When I first read the comments on my Modern Warfare 3 video, I had no intention of going back and playing this again, but I'll never regret it. Infinite Warfare is the best of the mid-2010 Call of Duty campaigns for sure, and I don't think it's even close. It's absolutely ridiculous to me that one of the worst regarded games ever made has an absolutely outstanding story experience that make you think and give you food for thought. Maybe this game is actually all around good. Maybe I'll just hop on some multiplayer for I just played 2 games and the same guy got a nuke both matches. I'm never playing this multiplayer ever again. Thanks for watching, and thanks to all my new subscribers. I can never thank you all enough. If you haven't seen my Modern Warfare 2023 video, please check it out. It's slightly more frustrated than this video, but I think you might get something out of it. My next project is a bit longer, and I hope the wait will be worth it. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.